Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the CCN News Media On Point. And this evening, we're on point with tariffs. I want to know if you understand what a tariff is and how it is that it is going to affect us.
Well, tariffs is a tax on goods allegedly um, weighed against other countries. But I think somebody didn't get the memo that we can't take the other countries out of the program because that's what, and from my travels in the military especially, that's what makes the American dollar uh, much higher in other countries was the way that they're positioned and the labor. It's been my argument for years, and a lot of people, and it's not that I was against uh, Hispanic people coming in here and doing work, but my argument is, well, yeah, they can do it cheaper because if I was to go to Mexico or in my travels, the pesos, $1 American equals 20 pesos. In Germany, uh, $1 American equaled about 7 Deutschmarks. And then I could go to Paris and exchange those Deutschmarks to Franco and get an additional $6. So I don't understand the whole reason behind his tariff move, other than the fact that it was a great selling tool for his campaign. And unfortunately, as we can see, just because it sounded good on paper and looked good on paper didn't mean it was necessarily a good idea. So what do you think about that?
I have a thought I'd like to share. I think the idea behind tariffs, taxing goods coming from another country, would be to encourage production of those goods in one's own country. And other countries have done this to America. They've said, well, we're going to discourage imports because we want to develop our own auto industry, want to develop our own farming industry. We want to develop our own technology industry. And they did.
Yes.
As a result, their economies grew. Now, that tactic can only work if we're actually actively creating the training and the preparation of Americans to take over these industries where we've been dependent on
others.
imports. But I don't see that happening. I mean, we cut out the auto shop in schools and all of the other programs that were teaching trades, and we don't see a whole lot of emphasizing in our agricultural industry. And then the reality is certain things just don't grow here because of the climate.
Right.
If we're serious about strengthening the American economy and empowering American workers, then we need to be preparing American students. I don't see that happening. I don't see our schools stepping up and having an agricultural program. I don't see our schools stepping up and having a technology program. I don't see our schools stepping up and having an auto manufacturing program or
Right.
any other kind of industry that has gone abroad in the past decades. So the tariffs, as it stands right now, yes, it may cut out imported items, but either they'll just be higher priced and we'll pay it anyway, or we'll stop buying those things. But the whole piece isn't together in terms of empowering Americans to do the work and create the products that we're importing.
Well, Naima is I know you had your hand up, Sandra. I'm coming to you. It's funny how we each understand what a tariff is and how it's imposed, etc. And you did such an excellent explanation about how it's imposed and the fact that we're not even prepared as uh, the United States to be able to bring those industries back. They've gone abroad, and now he's trying to bring them back. But like you said, we're not prepared. So and he just cut funding from the U.S. federal government for education. He just abandoned being able to sponsor education. So I mean, how are we going to train the children? How are we going to prepare our youth for what they have to know in order to run this country? Sandra, what do you have to say?
I was just talking based on what Naima was saying. First of all, when it comes to trade, there is agriculture being taught in the U.S. Even here in the city of Chicago, right on the 103rd, you have a high school that's all about agriculture. The Department of Agriculture has colleges. All of these A's that you hear in the AM mechanical, those are agricultural colleges. There are several of them. Many of them, we have 4 or 5 of them that are HBCUs. So that is being trained. And in many places, especially in places like California, Idaho, Iowa, they're really big on that in Florida. So agriculture is being taught in the colleges and in the high schools and in many schools because the Department of Agriculture sponsors a lot of those schools. And I can tell you that because I work for them and I had to actually go to those schools. The thing that's misunderstood about the tariffs, and especially the ones between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, there was NAFTA. NAFTA came about decades ago. The union, ACLU, all of them, not ACLU, AFCIO, complained about the trade because it allowed the truckers to come in and drive the trucks. That's where you get all, and again, they're fighting that. Trump in 2020 superseded that NAFTA with another agreement, which was more powerful than NAFTA. And it brought down those taxes, those tariffs that we're talking about, and made goods more affordable here in America that Canada produced and that Mexico produced. Canada provides electricity to New York State, Michigan, and I think the other one is Idaho. They provide electricity for them, and those bills are going to go up because of the tariffs that he introduced. And that right there, that he increased, but he already had an agreement that was in place where that should not have gone up. What he was doing when it came to goods that we get from Mexico, a lot of the stuff we get from Mexico are going to be the fruits. We get a lot of the fruits, especially those things that are not in season here. And some of those things, again, that Florida can't cover because, again, when Florida has a disaster, just like they had a freeze a few weeks ago, and the oranges are going to be expensive this year, they have to offset that cost. And many a times we used to have to suffer that cost in its entirety because there was nothing in place with Mexico. That was the reason why it came about before, and with California, whenever California has a problem. These places were like the understudies or the go-to whenever our crops were bad, and just keep the stuff affordable for the American people. This idiot just kind of canceled all that out. When it comes to the auto industry, we don't do car mechanics because they don't do mechanics in cars. Cars are big computers. They're nothing but a whole computerized system with wheels and made out of fiberglass. They got a few airbags to kind of protect you. They even got the trucks now where they're going to be driving themselves. That's a whole nother show. But that kind of technology it's called information technology, or IT. It is not the mechanic of the mechanical part of anything that is being made anymore. They've taken all that old-fashioned up and down stuff that you see, even the pistons and the things that are components in the car, the carburetor. There is no more carburetor. Those things don't even exist anymore. That's not how the cars are being made anymore. And then they couldn't keep up with that industry in a school setting because it was ever changing because it became computerized.
But they should have
Moreover,
kept up with it.
They
no,
should
They
have.
no,
They
you
kept up with
chose
it.
cannot.
not
No,
to.
you
They could
cannot.
have. They chose not
We
to.
need
That's why
what you
we're
guys
depending
need
on
to do.
foreign imports.
What you guys need to do is get up there, and I don't know if GM still offers it, but you can give them a call because you can actually go to one of their plants. I see Mike's hand. Go to one of their plants and see how vehicles are made, and you will find out that it is not made the way you guys think it is anymore.
But it doesn't matter how it's made, Sandra. The point
But
is
but
that we
again,
need to
that's
be
not what you
teaching
would
that
offer.
strategy or those
That's not what you would
technologies.
offer in a school for you to make money. It is better for you to understand the computer components for you to make the money than have that little gearbox that you're talking about making.
No.
Yes.
Yes, and I got it. I have to speak up on this one because I've been working on cars since I wanted my own car, which is a very, 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 very long time ago now.
You want to make your own
But
your own brand? You want to make a model yourself? That would have been great. Okay.
no, I meant as far as because I grew up on Saturdays watching when they used to run to the cars and hop in and start them. I was a Kel Shelby speed racer kid, and so like now people really don't get it. I could take that Cadillac V8 motor, which hasn't changed since 1970. The only difference about that motor is yes, we switch to different types of actuation. And that was kind of my thing. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the Boy Scouts. So when you fly model planes, there are actuators and little electronic devices that move stuff. Well, back in the day, the cars were ran off vacuum. So the carburetor and all of those things you're talking about, it depended on the vacuum. When I was at Southern in 1984, Southern GM had came up with the distributorless electronic system, which you're right. That part is right. It's a computer and it's an IoT. Unfortunately, and I will say this, and I've always questioned this in the south suburbs, in the north suburbs, in those facilities, even at Oak Park River Forest. I remember in the 90s, I graduated from high school in 1984, and we had a track meet out there at Oak Park River Forest. And I went, I was just like, wow, because I was at Holy Trinity. We had, we maybe had 100 students in the school. Oak Park River Forest had 100 students in their seniors. I'm like, what? 100 people tried out for the basketball team? We got 100 people in the school. So, but I don't want to digress. I'm going through the school, and they have a Cessna motor, and I'm like, that's an airplane motor because I was an airplane. I was an automotive airplane kid. The P-51 Mustang, the war plane, that's a Mr. Smith motor made by Bavarian Motor Works, who was BMW. That's how much I'm into it. Saab makes the jet motors for Russian airplanes. That's where Saab got their style. The issue is, and we really, 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 really have to wake up, is we got to get rid of the churches, and not because churches are a bad thing, but because churches, if you got 80 churches on your most expensive property, your boulevards, and that's, I mean, when we did the march, when that girl got shot, and I always tell Wanda about that, it was 80 churches in 8 blocks. Now multiply that by your property tax, not including if the church got the whole rest of the block as the parking lot. So what we got to do is say, okay, if Pastor across the street ain't saving Pookie on the corner, you're not gonna save Pookie on the corner.
Mike,
This is what I
Mike,
saw.
you done lost me. Wait a minute. I thought we were talking.
Because
Wait a
we're
minute,
not
wait a minute,
funding.
Wait a minute, Mike.
We're not
Wait a minute, Sandra, to your
funding.
point. But Sandra, to your point about the computerized cars. Now, I remember back in the 60s and 70s, every time, we would take a school trip to the museums and all the other, techno places, or even these various auto, and of course, they have the auto show every year. Anytime we took a trip to these kind of places, I would always see groups of Japanese people doing tours, and they were examining everything. They were basically looking at all of our industries, all of our technology, and their plan was to go back and supersede what we're doing, and they did it. Yes. So regardless of how industry is involved, if you have a game plan to, in your schools, master the new technology and create new technology to be able to not only compete with, but to supersede your competition in other countries, that's a game plan. So it's no excuse for us not keeping up with technology, not teaching computerized systems.
Who says that we don't keep up with technology?
Right, we're keeping up. It's just not in our community.
That's what I'm saying. Where you all getting
it's just not in our community.
This is the reason why the economy is the way it is.
Thank you, Mike.
I love this show. You guys are just going at it.
No, we're not going at it. No,
but this is why we end up hiring workers from India to handle our computer technology. Every other country has planned with their schools, with their students, with their economy to have the skills for today's technology and today's.
So instead of another church,
we failed to do it.
We
that
need
was
to put that in our public schools. We need to
think
plan.
It's about
That's what I'm saying. Instead of another church.
It's
plan,
more
but you know what?
about,
I don't know.
they don't want to pay
what
for it.
school
That's why
your
they're
kids are
hiring
attending, or
international.
what schools? I don't know what school your kids attended or not attending, but that's not the schools that my kids attended, my grandkids attended, or my great grand has attended, or my nieces, nephews, cousins, and others. I don't know where you're getting that from. I do know, because my kids went to school here in Chicago. I do know that there was a choice where you could sign up for your kids. First, they had the lottery for you to go to Beasley, and those were the academic. My son attended Beasley. Then there you had the arts and sciences schools that my daughters attended that you also had to test for to get in. If you didn't take the time and invest in your kid to have that done, you're right. Your kid may have missed out.
But Sandra, a lot of people didn't have access.
No, wait. I was on the LSC. Slow down.
Okay, wait.
If they didn't, and if you didn't take the time to find out what school you wanted to put your kid in, if your community school was not up to par, and you still have that option, you did not have to put your kid in that school. Moreover, there's this thing called the LSC, the local school council. That is what you join and become a part of to improve the curriculum at your school. And you don't have to be a parent. They have a slot for a community member. You do not have to be a parent. You do not have to have a kid in that school at all. But if you live in the community, you can do that. Okay. I'm sorry, you about to say something?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I see Grady's on. I don't know who.
Oh, you want everybody again?
Yeah, 2546. Want them to introduce themselves, and Alan. I want everybody to have a chance to say something. So Grady, introduce yourself and let us hear what you have to say about the tariffs.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. My name is Grady Norwood Jr. I'm a retired activist businessman. I just came from Springfield last week. That's a crime scene down there in terms of we got out of 118 state reps, 30 of them, maybe 20 of them is Black. But in order to get any legislation passed in this state, we need at least 30 votes in the Senate and 60 votes in the House. and the governor's signature. So it's 91 people that can turn the state around in terms of where we, especially since Black folks give all our votes to the Democratic Party, we have to figure out a way to hold them accountable. I mean, at this point, and I'm hearing all kind of stuff going on with the schools, the churches, and all of that. I mean, like you say, you have to have a plan for your family. Otherwise, they're gonna get ate up in this system. So I don't know if most Black people take that serious, but again, you got to invest in your children. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right, caller 2546, please introduce yourself. Caller 2546. Oh, Dr.
Greetings,
Spivey.
Dr. Spivey.
Hi, Dr. Spivey. So
I apologize. I had a previous engagement that I have to put some documents together. But I want to strive to see if I can respond to the topic to some logical form. And I'm a part of the system that is now changed into the new earth that we hear things, but we have no idea what are those things representing, and what is it that they're talking about. This that we're witnessing with the different charges that they're doing to these different countries. The basis of what that is, we have been financing all of these other countries, supporting them, and what's going on right now is it's time for them to pay back all of the things that the U.S. has put forth to support them.
when you say the U.S. is put forth, what are you referring to? The financial aid we've helped them with?
Financial aid, all of the technical stuff that we have been supporting them with. And what is happening right now, and because we are not conscious about our identity first, and that of which is taking place right now, we're talking about billions and trillions of dollars that is going to be funding back into this country. Now, anything that you hear me speak about this evening, I invite you to go research it, so then it belongs to you. And that's very important. I'm a researcher for at least 50 to almost 60 years. I'm in my late 70s right now. And I've been privileged to take part in the global world reset that most of you don't even have a clue what that is.
Can you tell us, Dr. Spivey?
I most certainly will. The global reset is resetting the world, not Illinois. Illinois is just a spot. We're talking about global world. And we are in the front running of that. In language that we've been listening to, this whole thing stems back all the way to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. That's how deep this rabbit hole has gone. And the person that you keep spitting venom at was appointed to drain the swamp. And that's what's going on right now, because everybody that's upset are part of that fraudulent organization, the government, that now they're getting ready to be exposed, and they are panicked. So all of the things that you are seeing right now is based on that. I said billions and trillions that's going to be funded back to this country. So everybody will have an opportunity to put forth their concept, their ideas, their whole life's desires. But you better show up with something concrete to make sense. all of these things that's shutting down, like our educational institutions, the reason they are being targeted, does anybody really know what's going on in the educational institutions?
Well,
That's a question.
I'm sure we all have our own assumptions. We don't really know, but I'm sure we have our own, all of us have our own assumptions. And Dr. Spivey, once you make that point, I'd like to finish everybody introducing themselves so that everybody has a shot at what they think is going on. Go on,
well,
sir.
let me put this out there. This educational system that we have a lot of conversation about, but we don't know what it is. They want to teach our children some of the most horrendous, demonic conversations. And like I said, you can look this stuff up and find out for yourself. Then it belongs to you. I'm just sharing, I'm the messenger. I'm just sharing what I have been exposed to. They want to teach from 5th grade to, I think it's to high school.
That's 12th grade.
They want to make little boys, little girls, little boys.
Why would
They said
do
it's
that?
all right for. They said it's all right for two men to have a relationship. This is what they want to teach our children.
Well, you know, Wanda, one of the things that we should learn from these times is to take responsibility for our own lives. And that's what all of this is forcing us to do. Back in 2020, during the pandemic, we started an urban farming program so that those who have, whether it's just a backyard or a patch of dirt in your front yard, whatever it is, you have access to land where you can grow your own food. And for those who went to school for agriculture, that's fine. They have skills from the book. Now let's take those skills that you learned in school and employ them where you live. We panic when we look at grocery stores closing, but really, we're grown people. We need to be growing our own food. We have land right there. How many people have a cow that eats the grass? Nobody. Got beautiful lawns, but why are we using all of our land to grow what we don't eat? So intelligence would make us take control of our environment. What the brother said about the school system, it doesn't matter what they want to teach. Nobody controls what happens in your home. We're launching an online school so that people can actually be learning things that are life-producing skills. And as long as we're expecting somebody else to save us, we're going to keep feeling like victims, and we're not victims. We are very powerful people. We do have education, but the education teaches us to hope somebody hires us to give that knowledge to them.
I don't know what
our knowledge
educational
needs to
system
do
you all
is
are
come
talking
back
about.
and create
I don't know,
it for ourselves. I mean, Sandra, are your children who learn agriculture and all these skills, are they creating industries in your family for your descendants, for your
I'm one of her. I'm one of Sandra's children. I'm an adult. I'll be 40 in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I didn't.
And I know you're
yes, I
educated.
learned agriculture, but also in education because I have 3 degrees. I learned what my passion was, which
I'm gonna
was
talk to you because we get ready to start some farming, so I'm gonna be calling you.